where the Nuggets are victorious. Warriors win their group in the Emirates Cup, but are going to be on the road next week against the Rockets in a game to be played on Tuesday or Wednesday. But they've got much bigger issues at this particular point in time. We also have our buddy Greg Silver joining us tonight here for a segment or so back in San Francisco. Greg, good to be with you, my man. And wow, a lot to digest in this one. Warriors fought and did a lot of things really well, especially end of the first and third quarters, beginning of the second and fourth quarters. But it was the Nuggets down the stretch to close the first half and down the stretch to close the game had two massive runs. And there's going to be a lot to question and a lot to dissect from this one as far as who was out on the court, who should have been out on the court, and the Warriors trying to figure out a closing lineup that can complement Stephen Curry. All in all, tough night for the Dubs, Greg.
Good to be with you. I was hoping that I could have a little bit of relief. We could finally say the Warriors got that Nuggets monkey off of their back. Was not the case at all. And I'm just, my eyes were blinded by how yellow that court was. And now I wish they were blinded after what I watched for the last 232.
Maybe not as bad in person, I will say, because I watched the Nuggets' other Emirates Cup game. I mean, it's bad. I'm not making any excuses for it. It seems less bad in person than it does on television. I will save that commentary for later. But 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627, the number to give us a call or shoot us a text here. As the Warriors, that's 8 in a row now for the Nuggets over the Warriors over the last now 3 seasons. The Nuggets with a couple of season series sweeps. Warriors haven't beaten Denver since they knocked them out of the playoffs in 2022 en route to winning that fourth NBA championship in 8 years. So where do you even begin on this one, Greg? I'll just kind of run through a lot of thoughts from this game as the Warriors trailed 33-31 at the end of the first quarter. Podziemski and Kuminga locked and loaded, ready to roll, both getting off to good starts. Podziemski with 5 of the first 7 Warriors points. Kuminga with 7 quick ones. Steve Kerr went with a different rotation in this one, as Steph Curry subbing out middle of the first and third quarters, 2 subs per half. And I thought it was a brilliant move in the sense that it set up the Warriors to be playing minutes where Curry was going to be on the floor and Jokic was not going to be on the floor at the beginning of second and fourth quarters. And the Warriors really took advantage of both of those stretches. So I thought as they tried to shuffle and change the rotation without Draymond Green and how they were going to mix things up, I thought that was actually something that initially worked, helped the Warriors kind of hang in the game there. And then the Warriors able in the second quarter with more excellent play from Kuminga, able to grab the lead and push the lead up to what was a 12-point lead, a 23-6 run for the Warriors in the second quarter. And it was a lot of Curry and Kuminga and Kevon Looney, who was excellent tonight before he fouled out. Gary Payton II played really well in this one. Kyle Anderson played well defensively, but the Warriors up 12, 23-6 run. Jonathan Kuminga, I thought, until the closing minutes, was as smooth and decisive and just comfortable and confident as he had been all year. In terms of his offense, and the Warriors were really making the Nuggets move around defensively, which is not something that they've been able to do effectively over the last handful of games here, as their defense have been pretty bad. But Denver able to get back into it late in the first half, a 12-0 run. They tie the game with 1:27 to go before halftime, and it ends up being a 15-3 run overall. Andrew Wiggins mixed in a 3 there, but the game was tied at 57 going to the third quarter. And then third quarter, the Nuggets able to win that quarter 34-28. And the Warriors fortunate, I thought, that quarter didn't really get off the rails. They hit a couple of big buckets some rough offensive moments in the third quarter, some low IQ play in the third quarter. But again, the Warriors were still within striking distance. And then down 5 going to the fourth, another interesting decision, Greg. And I don't know about this Curry, Payton, Moody, Anderson, Trace Jackson Davis lineup. I don't know what your thoughts were on it in real time, but I thought that had the potential to be a lineup that would really struggle. And immediately the Warriors go on a 10-2 run, and Kyle Anderson scored and Trace Jackson Davis is scored. Everybody scored but Curry. Everybody had a bucket except for Curry. And the Warriors suddenly were ahead in this one and able to build the lead that they ultimately lost in the closing minutes. But a lot to dissect, a lot to chew on, Greg, but just kind of your thoughts on all of that here as we set up the phone lines, and we welcome everybody into the YouTube chat as well here on Dubs OT.
Yeah, so we had Mark Spears on a little bit earlier today with Papa, and we got to have a good conversation there. I asked the question, not to Mark, but I think just a general discussion, is 12-3 the new 6-2 from last year? And I would argue it's not. I do think it's a different team. I do think they're better defensively. But the reality is with this one, JD, and our friend Robert says it right here in the chat, this for sure feels like last season. There is absolutely no way around it. Playing a good game, coming out on the road, having a double-digit lead in the fourth, seeming to have Denver in a stranglehold, can't generate stops when you need to generate stops. It's the same things that continue to plague them. Turnovers, fouls. This year it's free throws. It just all adds up to where little things matter a lot at the end. And Denver, like the Warriors, has gone through the ringer. They've touched the Larry O'Brien. They are champions. They know what it takes. You saw plays made at the end of games. And if you don't put a team away like that, they're going to make you punish. Jamal Murray strips Jonathan Kuminga when what looks like is going to be an easy dish from Curry for a baseline dunk. Then you got the transition. Looney fouls out, and I agree with you. He had a great game at a game with no Draymond to go and defend. So, yeah, all in all, it's a really tough one and to kind of chew on. And another chat comment I'd like to bring up is from our friend Estimated Eyes. Nobody bring up Melton for F's sake. I agree in the sense of, is DeAnthony Melton's injury really responsible for this team going from 12-3, top of the cloud 9, looking really good, to all of a sudden, oh, we got problems?
Yeah, look, I think some of it is coincidence. I think some of it is he's a player that projects to really be it was going to be needed. And you saw that he helped them win a lot of the games. He helped them win the Dallas game, helped them win the game against Oklahoma City. He was a guy that was going to play well against the really good teams. And so I think what you're seeing here as the Warriors play more of these really good teams, you start to see now they're faltering in some of these games down the stretch, whether it's lack of secondary scoring, whether it's just going cold, whether it's an inability to choose who's going to be in your closing lineup. I mean, yeah, as far as all of the things, the free throw shooting, all of those different things are really, really indicative of a lot of the things that we saw last year. So 808 KNBR, let's get Adam in San Jose up here to get things going. Our tip-off caller on Dubs OT here on the Sports Leader. What's going on, Adam?
Hey, JD. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, my man.
On the second to last play, down 2, Kuminga has the ball. Steph is wide open on the right wing, begging for the ball. Kuminga briefly looks at him and then proceeds to drive to the basket against Jokic, only to get his shot blocked or he misses, whatever. The shot didn't go in.
Yeah, lost the ball going up.
Yeah. My question is, what is Jonathan Kuminga good for? When the ball is in his hands, he has one focus and only one, and that's to drive to the basket at 99 speed, and either he misses the shot or he gets it blocked, and then he's crying for a foul every single time. And then when he does get a foul call, he can never make his free throws. He's one of the worst free throw shooters on the team, if not the worst. And for the love of God, can someone please tell him that he's not a three-point shooter and he never will be? Stop taking those shots. Even if you're wide open, do not shoot that. That's not you. I cannot stand Jonathan Kuminga. He's got to go.
Well, look, Kuminga was really good tonight until he wasn't. And he wasn't down the stretch. And look, I thought this was kind of the quintessential good Kuminga game. Yes, I thought he took too many shots early, but he was hitting. And as the game went on, what does it look like when Kuminga's scoring? He's scoring off of everything that's going on within the Warriors offense. It's a lot of layups. It's a lot of stuff on the interior. He hit a couple pull-up jumpers tonight, and that's fine. He was in rhythm. He was decisive. The shot looked good. Again, I thought he looked as comfortable with that aspect of his game in the first 3 quarters as maybe he has at any point in his career. Only took 2 threes tonight, hit one of them. And the one he hit was a wide open corner one that he had to take in the context of the offense. So I didn't really have an issue with any of that. The issue is Kuminga, he earned the right to be out there to finish the game tonight. And we're seeing that at times he still struggles to finish games. And a lot of that poise and patience that was there. I mean, there was a play in the second quarter where he waited for a Steph Curry relocation to the corner, dribbled, stopped, looked, hit Curry. Like it was a spectacular play. Maybe the best play of Jonathan Kuminga's career, in terms of just knowing what the hell was going on the court. And not feeling like he was pressing, and he was reading the play, he was reading the defense, and he hits Curry, and Curry hit the 3. And so, I thought Kuminga was really good tonight until the fourth quarter. But that's the thing. When you have a player like him out there in the fourth quarter against a team that's also got some champions out there, some recent champions, they're going to make you execute. And so, yeah, he did not play well down the stretch. He lost the ball going up when he probably should have shown a little bit of poise in that situation and made the extra pass. Loses the ball on one, Jokic able to stop him on another one. And so, look, I mean, I think those are the kinds of things that you have to live with. But tonight was not a bad Jonathan Kuminga game, all in all, Greg. I mean, that's kind of that's another reason why this is a tough one, I think, for the Warriors to swallow, because in a lot of ways, Jonathan Kuminga was really, really good, and in ways where he typically isn't always good.
I agree with you that it was a good Jonathan Kuminga game, and I think that's what makes the ending kind of stink, because we should be complimentary of Jonathan Kuminga since he came off the bench and he's embraced it. He hasn't had a bad attitude.
How about this? I had a buddy of mine who texted me that wasn't watching the game and that flipped it on in the final 6-7 minutes. And he's like, man, Kuminga stinks. And I go, well, no, he's actually got 19 and he's played pretty well. But the overarching point, Greg, and I'll let you finish. The overarching point is if you watch the last 6 minutes, you would have thought Kuminga was awful tonight. If you would have watched the other times he was out there on the court, you would have seen that it was actually – he was really more good than bad, but bad in the final couple of minutes against a team like the Nuggets will get you beat.
But that's what I'm saying, JD, is that Kuminga did largely have a good game, but it was the difference between winning and losing was the crunch time, the final 6 minutes in which he was not very effective. And this is not a loss that entirely falls on Jonathan Kuminga, but the reason that he's a talking point is because he sort of is your number 2 option and your number 2 scorer right now, especially being the spark plug off the bench. I just don't think we can sit here any longer and pretend that the Warriors can get by and win a playoff series or make a run without having a true second option. Buddy Hield has been that on some nights. Andrew Wiggins has been that on some nights. You still need Wiggins out there defensively. But when it comes down to crunch time, other than Steph doing otherworldly things and hitting his nights, who are you really going to turn to as a person to kind of stabilize things? And that's why Klay Thompson, when he was at his peak before all those injuries, I think he was taken for granted a lot of times with some of the clutch shots he hit. Sometimes I think down the stretch when it really counted, Klay was hitting more clutch shots than Steph at times. And I think you need 2 guys in today's NBA. Draymond's your second best player, but he's so unique. He's a facilitator on offense. He's a creator. He's not going to will you to victory by putting the ball in the basket. That's never who he's been.
Well, there were times in this game tonight where you look at it and you think it's Wiggins at different points in the game. And it was Kuminga early, even Podziemski early. You're thinking, okay, one of those two guys might be the clear-cut number two. With Moody in the third quarter. I mean, Moody was excellent. And even in the fourth quarter, Moody was excellent before he got subbed out. And there's going to be a lot of people that are wondering why Moses Moody didn't come back in the game a little bit sooner. He got subbed out at around the 4-minute mark and didn't come back in until there were 48.9 seconds to go in the game. Gary Payton II ended up out there. Gary Payton II ended up having to take an open shot that you would have felt pretty good about Moses Moody taking in that particular situation. But what I'm getting at is there were a number of different players that you thought could be the guy and were the guy at different points in the game. But you look up at the end of the night and nobody either had enough and nobody was effective down the stretch, where a team like the Nuggets is going to try to make life as difficult as possible for Steph Curry and try to make somebody else beat you on the court. And look, Steph had some good looks too. I mean, Steph had some looks that he could have knocked down and maybe changed the ultimate outcome of the game. So 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. That is the number to give us a call or shoot us a text here. It is Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. We got Greg Silver on hand here for the first part of the show as we are off and rolling here on KNBR on this Tuesday night. Warriors lose to the Nuggets in Denver here. 119-115 is the final. Nuggets with the final 10 points of the game. After the Warriors had led by six with as late as 2:14 to go when Jokic got himself a bucket. Then you had the Kuminga missed dunk, Jamal Murray credited with a block on that one. And then you had Kevon Looney foul out with 1:40 to go. That was a key moment as he fouled out. Again, going up against Jamal Murray. Steve Kerr challenged it, didn't get the call in terms of the challenge, and Murray ends up hitting a couple of free throws. At that point, it's 115-113. Then there was the Gary Payton three-point miss, the open look from 25 that missed, and Jokic able to tie the game is you're so worried about the pass, you kind of sag off, and Jokic is like, all right, yeah, I'm going to just take this 18-footer right here, and it rimmed in at that point. Then Curry had a look at a 27-footer that we've seen him hit, and then the Nuggets able to grab the lead on the Aaron Gordon free throws, and the Warriors at that point. Kuminga with the drive, Jokic credited with the block on that one as he lost it going up there, and the Nuggets ended up getting the ball back, and it ended up being Jokic going to the free throw line to ice the game. 119-115 is the final. So who gets the bulk of the blame tonight, I think, is the question of the night for our buddy Kyle Haar back in our San Francisco studios. Who gets the blame? Because I know there is going to be why not Moody sooner. I think there's going to be a lot of what we've heard so frequently lately, too much Podziemski, even though I thought Podziemski was pretty good until he wasn't tonight as well. But you look at the stretch.
He's got to close out better.
Yeah, the stretch that Podziemski had, was really bad. I mean, he fouls Porter on the three. He threw it away out of bounds before that. I think there was a missed shot in there as well. But, Podziemski had some big-time losing plays and didn't find his way into the closing lineup. But his losing plays took place earlier. And, as the Warriors were controlling things, in the fourth quarter, it didn't have to necessarily get down to a point where it was even a 6-point game with 2 minutes left. It could have been a 10 or a 12-point game with the way the Warriors had Denver on the ropes. So I think there's going to be a lot of should have been more Moody, should have been less Podziemski, should have played Curry more. I think a lot of those things are going to come into play as we dissect this one here on Dubs OT. But who gets the bulk of the blame for you tonight, Greg?
Well, I got to give a shout out to everyone's worst nightmare saying Kyle Shanahan, and then San Jose Jazz fan saying Farhan Zaidi, just playing the hits of KNBR. No, but seriously,
no, that's pretty good.
It's a tough question, and I'll probably have a more formulated opinion around 10:03 a.m. tomorrow when I'm just going to be ranting in my head for 4 straight hours and talking about it with Greg Papa. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Moody should have come back sooner. I don't know how tired he was. In retrospect, he definitely should have come back sooner because they had no offense. So you can question the rotation for that for sure. Pajemski and Kuminga was tough because, yeah, you're right. They were really good tonight until there weren't. Looney fouling out was not ideal. I think Kyle Anderson was really good. I don't know if I have a clear answer right now. Yeah, Larry joking, now that Greg has a show, he's saving his takes for later. No, Larry, I think I'm actually just a little bit of a loss right now. Like, this is an instant reaction that I got to work out, and then I'm going to attempt to sleep in about 30 minutes. And I don't know if I'll even have an answer when I wake up.
Yeah, so make sure you're listening to Greg Silver and Greg Papa tomorrow, 10 o'clock here on KNBR. Give them a call as well. Greg, we'll let you go here unless you've got any final thoughts. But I think you kind of just gave us your final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, final thoughts are that I was hoping this would end with a Warriors win, and we would say it was kind of like the Kings beating the Warriors after that big comeback last year, getting the monkey off of their back. Kind of thought that there was a chance it was going to be that. I thought defensively they were locked in. It's no surprise that they completely balled out in the non-Jokic minutes. They scored 30-11 on the advantage, I think. So a plus 19 in the 8 minutes that Jokic was off the floor. That's not surprising. I think Jokic proved why he's an MVP. And like I said a little bit earlier in the show, Denver's a champion too. May not have won as many rings as the Golden State Warriors, but they're a team that knows how to close things out. And tonight they did it. If you don't play sound basketball, if you don't close with a purpose, you're going to get burned for it. And the Warriors did, because Steph Curry wasn't otherworldly. That's sort of been the theme of the last couple of years here, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, they needed a lot more from Steph Curry, a couple of more shots down the stretch. But again, it's in many ways unfair to ask him to continue to deliver at that level when you look around the floor and there just isn't there just isn't anybody else that you're comfortable going to. There are guys that you're comfortable with if they get theirs in the context of the offense, and you may look up at the end of the game and it's like, all right, they've got the numbers of a number 2, but there still is no clear-cut number 2. And I think down the stretch, as the Warriors play another clutch game, their 12th of the year, 9 of the last 10 have been clutch games for the Warriors. I think this is 5 straight clutch game losses for the Warriors over the last couple of weeks. And again, that is starting to be all too familiar of what we saw last year and the last couple of years. So Greg, have a great show tomorrow. And we'll talk to you again soon, buddy.
Hey, thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Jacob. Big thank you to the YouTube chat. Love seeing you. And if I see you during the daytime, you get a shout out for sure. JD, have a great rest of your show and good luck trying to process this one. I'm going to try to do some of the same tomorrow.
Yeah, 808 KNBR, that's Greg Silver. We got Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios. We got a couple of phone lines open as well. 808 KNBR, we'll get into the YouTube chat coming up. We got Sounds of Dubs OT coming up here as well. But a quick timeout as the Warriors lose to the Nuggets, 119-115. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Hoops Heads, Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps balling. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
Curry on Murray. Shot clock at 10. Steph with a quick speed. Drop it to Kuminga and had it knocked away. Murray saved a dunk. Jamal Murray, 100 miles an hour into the lane. And a foul.
Yeah, Warriors lose by the final of 119-115 in Denver. It's Dubs OT with JD here on The Sports Leader. 808 KNBR to react to this one. Who gets the blame? Who gets the blame as the Warriors get outscored 10-0 to close this one? A 115-109 lead with about 2:14 to go in the game. Who gets the blame? That's our Dubs OT question of the night, which Kyle Haar is preparing for social media as we speak. So I will relay the multiple choice answers for you once we get them. And people are already on the personal Twitter feed are chiming in with their takes on it. There's already a vote for Steve Kerr. There's already a vote for should have played Trace Jackson Davis a little bit more in this one. But no, Kevon Looney was doing the job. I think you could make a legitimate case that Looney fouling out, Looney did a solid job on Jokic, as solid as anybody can, really, not named Draymond Green. And so I think, Looney fouling out hurt on the final couple of possessions to be sure. But when you look at a game like this, I think the thing that everybody says is it shouldn't have come down to those final couple of possessions, and that the Warriors should have been able to handle business when they grabbed control of the game, because they grabbed control of the game in the middle of the fourth quarter. 6:13 to go in the fourth. They're up 109-98 at that point after Moses Moody got fouled on a three-pointer. He made all three free throws. It's 109-98 at that point. And you look up at the end of the night, and the Warriors only scored 6 more points in the game from the moment that it was 109-98. The Nuggets score 21. So 21-6, the extended run. And again, it's just indicative of the fact that the Warriors, when it's not Steph Curry, really don't have anybody else they can go to that can create their own offense. It all has to be in the flow of what the Warriors are trying to run, whether that's a Buddy Hield 3 if he's in the game, whether it's Moses Moody getting an open look, whether it's a lot if Kuminga's plays are not based on his own creation, they're based on the defense moving and Kuminga able to take the ball one move, he's to the bucket, and he's able to get there and dunk it or get fouled. They're just Wiggins is the one guy who I think is the most able, but the plays that you really run for Wiggins are plays kind of similar to Kuminga, although I don't think the Warriors ever truly want to be running plays for Kuminga down the stretch in any game over an extended period of time. But the plays you run for Wiggins are the isolation kind of plays that take the Warriors out of the rest of their flow. But he's the guy who I think among everybody is the one that has the best ability to try and be that number 2. But now as this losing streak hits 5 and the Warriors now fall to 12-8 on the season, it puts them in a position where they are searching. And I think when you look at the things that are not going well, it is, as so many have said in the YouTube chat tonight, it is starting to look an awful lot like the last 2 years, which at some point the Warriors here sooner than later, if they see that, they have to be able to look in the mirror and say, hey, that's not going to happen. There need to be changes to be made. Let's go try to find a move that can be made. Jeff is up next here in San Francisco on Dub. Oh, we lost Jeff. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Do we have the Dubs OT question of the night up and ready to roll yet?
We do. So the Dubs OT question of the night: who gets blamed for the Warriors' fourth quarter collapse against the Nuggets? And you and I, JD, we came up with 4 answers. Answer 1, not enough Moody. Answer 2, too much pods. Answer 3, Looney fouling out. And answer 4, Kuminga down the stretch.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a tough one. I think I think I'm going to go with not enough Moody, although the early lead is too much Pods. Even though Pods wasn't out there in the final 750. No, Pods wasn't out there for the final 5. Pods was out there for about 2 minutes, and it was a bad 2-3 minute stretch there in the fourth quarter. Where he was out there and fouls a 3-point shooter, throws the ball out of bounds into the 10th row. It was ugly, but his miscues were earlier than the final stretch run there. But he like Kuminga tonight. They were both really good until they weren't. And so that is an unfortunate set of circumstances for the Warriors. By the way, we should let everybody know the ramifications in the Emirates Cup, NBA Cup, for the Warriors' loss to the Nuggets. The Warriors still won their group, but they dipped from the 2nd seed in the Western Conference to the 3rd seed. So everybody that wins their group gets ranked 1, 2, 3. Houston lost. They had been 3-0 like the Warriors were 3-0. So Houston lost tonight in Sacramento. Oklahoma City won tonight, and Oklahoma City over. So it ended up OKC 3-1, Houston 3-1, Warriors 3-1. Those were your 3 group winners. OKC with the best point differential of the group, all 3-1. They get the 1 seed. Houston gets the 2 seed based on the 2nd best point differential. The Warriors get the 3 seed. And then the wild card, how about this one? The wild card is the Dallas Mavericks, who were also 3-1, but had the best point differential among all of the 3-1 2nd place teams. So they get the wild card. Those are the 4 teams that are playing next week for a shot to go to Vegas, and the Warriors as the 3 are at the 2, Houston. So the Warriors are going to be at Houston. The Mavs are going to be at Oklahoma City. The 2 winners will play in Vegas. So that's your, and then the Eastern Conference is set as well, and the 2 winners of the 2 Eastern Conference games next Tuesday and Wednesday will play in Vegas. It's basically like a Final Four style deal in Las Vegas. So the Warriors do not get that home game with a chance to go to Vegas. They will be going to Houston again coming up on Tuesday or Wednesday, and the schedule is out. The Warriors will play Wednesday the 11th at 6:30 Pacific time. So a late one. It'll be an 8:30 game in Houston. Dallas and Oklahoma City playing Tuesday. Orlando and Milwaukee playing Tuesday. Atlanta, New York, the teams in the East are playing Wednesday. And then the Warriors will play Wednesday at Houston. Again, it'll be the 2nd of a doubleheader. And so the Warriors playing that one with a shot to go to Vegas. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. That is the number to give me a call or shoot me a text here. Let's get into the YouTube chat here as it is Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Let's go. Let's just dive right into it. I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to actually start. I'm going to start tonight from most recent, and people are just flooding the chat here. And so we really appreciate it. A lot of our regulars will get to some shout outs there. But yeah, the Warriors losing this one 119 to 115 to the Nuggets. Joe H. Dubs with the worst point differential. Yeah, they had the worst point differential among the group winners between them, Houston, and Oklahoma City. And so they end up being in that position. For the Warriors, looking at some other ones, I'm interested where people put the blame tonight. CB, Kerr can't rip off the warm-ups and hit the shots himself. He just doesn't have the horses unless Moody or someone levels up. And look, I thought it was an unfair expectation to believe that Pajemski or Moody or Kuminga were going to truly level up and become a carrier. Like that was just not even Kuminga. I think he wasn't good. You shouldn't be asking Jonathan Kuminga to be a clear-cut number 2 riding next to Steph Curry on a team that you think can be a top 4 to 6 team in the Western Conference. GZ money. Crunch time is like playoff time. Moody has always been a solid player in those minutes. Kuminga, not so much. That's a real good thought. That's a real good thought. Moody has played. And look, I thought Moody coming out, by the way, when he came out, I thought Moody coming out was more about rest and that Kerr was going to get him back in. But then I think Kerr didn't end up putting him back in quickly enough. Like Moody had a good long run from the end of the third quarter. I mean, Moody had played basically 12 or 13 minutes straight. He played about 12 or 13 minutes straight, and then you got to give him a little bit of a breather. And so Buddy Hield came in, and then Peyton came in. And I think what should have happened was maybe Buddy Hield comes in, and then a minute or two later, you get Moody back in, and maybe you bypass Peyton altogether. I think if there's an error, I would pinpoint the error specifically to be that. And, yeah, I have no question that Moses Moody can be on the floor. If he's playing well on that night, I have no issue with Moses Moody being on the court at the end of the game ever because, as GZ Money points out, he is very comfortable in a lot of those moments and has been successful. Uncle Looney, it's the players, not the coaching. Yeah, I think it's mostly look, this team was built in a way to lean in on their depth, and we saw it work at a really high level the first 15 games of the season. And now over the last couple of weeks, we're seeing with some injuries and some guys who have been a little less consistent and more nights where you look up at the end of the night at the box score and you don't see somebody that even if you don't have a clear-cut number 2, you want to be able to look up at the end of the night and the box score says, oh, that guy tonight was the clear-cut number 2, and it was enough to earn a win. There have been too many nights where that hasn't been the case for the Warriors and of late, and they're playing closer games. And when you don't have a clear-cut number 2, that gets exposed more in the games where they're close. And so, the Warriors were not playing a ton of close games in the first, now they're through 20. It's 9 of the last 10 that are clutch games for the Warriors. So that means they played 2 clutch games in the first 10. So that, you look up now and they were blowing some teams out, which was part of the reason, it was going that well to where they didn't have to rely on on executing. Some of these others, looking at Steve Kerr, no question, gets a vote. Mano F 1005 holds. Steve Kerr, no question. You allow an 11-0 run like that, that's a coaching meltdown. The Warriors also, Kerr had burned some timeouts early and lost one on the Looney challenge. And so the Warriors were in a tough spot as far as being able to call timeouts in the final couple of minutes as things were going awry on them. Uncle Looney, Hield was awful. Yeah, Hield has not really been good for the last 3 weeks after really being an impactful player through the first couple of weeks of the season. Rebel to Sounds with all the Warriors' shortcomings. This game, the refs helped the Nuggets. Yeah, third quarter, I think it's fair to say, third quarter, the Nuggets got a little bit of a home whistle. I think that's fair. Again, nothing that truly dictated the outcome. I mean, there are going to be games like that where maybe you get a little benefit of the whistle, or it feels that way, or the opponent is frustrated with it. But I would say third quarter, the Nuggets did a pretty quality whistle. Warriors probably need to lose 10 straight games to force them to do something. Well, they're halfway there. They're halfway there, 12-8, and that really is the tough part about tonight specifically. Now is it's not getting any easier. It's Houston at Chase Center on Thursday, and they're going to play. And so basically, the next 4 games for the Warriors are Houston, Minnesota, Houston, and they're either going to play OKC or Dallas after that. OKC or Dallas, because last year, and I believe it's still the same format, the 2 losing teams in the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup also play each other in a makeup game. So if the Warriors lose to the Rockets in Houston next Wednesday, then they would be in a position where they would be playing the loser of the OKC Dallas game. So it could set up to, maybe it ends up being another game for the Warriors with Klay Thompson coming back to play at Chase. I'm not exactly sure. Both, if the Warriors lose on the road and Dallas loses on the road, then they would both have played an extra road game. So somebody would end up with a 42nd road game in that particular instance. And so we'll see what happens between Dallas and the Warriors on that front, or maybe they shuffle it around a little bit. But yeah, the bottom line, you're playing Houston, Minnesota, Houston, and then you're either playing Oklahoma City or Dallas after that. And if you win and you get to Vegas, you're playing whoever comes out of the East as far as that bracket that we just mentioned. And so, yeah, as Clickbait mentions, Warriors have 1 team under 500 for the rest of the month. So once you get through all that, it's Memphis again and Minnesota and Indiana and the Clippers and the Lakers and the Cavaliers. And, yeah, the one team that you look up right now, and you look at the standings right now, the one team that's under is Indiana. And, that was a team, obviously, that was a pretty good team and has a lot of talent, but have been dealing with some injuries as well. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. A couple of lines open here as it is Dubs OT with JD. Warriors lose. Where do you put the blame? Let's update our poll question of the night here, and I'm searching for it there. Didn't get tagged in it, so I got to go back through. Warrior fans, Dubs OT question of the night: who gets the blame for the Warriors' fourth quarter collapse against the Nuggets? This is pretty funny. It's the guy who played the least in the fourth quarter, I think. Pajemski's getting dragged in this one. 48.9% say Pajemski. Kuminga down the stretch, 26.6. Kevon Looney fouling out is trailing the pack at 9.6, and then not enough Moody coming in second at 14.9% of the vote as the Warriors end up losing this game by that final of 119 to 115. So more coming up from the YouTube chat. Still time for some calls at 808 KNBR. We got to get to the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line as the Warriors lose to the Nuggets 119 to 115. 808 KNBR. Who gets the blame? Warriors have dropped 5 in a row. We're talking about it on the Sports Leader.
Did you hear something?
Yeah, like a swoosh.
Yeah.
Dubs OT presents the sounds of silver. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, welcome back. Warriors lose 119-115 in Denver. 808 KNBR. Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line is open. Phone line's open. We're going to continue to roll through here as the Warriors have dropped 5 in a row. Who gets the blame? We'll continue to monitor our Dubs OT question of the night as far as who gets the blame in the Warriors losing this one. They were up 6 with 2:14 to go. Nuggets score the final 10 of this one from down 6 to win 119-115. The final secondary scoring still an issue. Jonathan Kuminga, as well as he played tonight, was bad down the stretch. Not enough Steph Curry to save them. Where was Andrew Wiggins in the closing minutes of this game as well? And Brandon Pajemski thought he played well at times, but also had a really rough first half of the fourth quarter, and it all adds up to the Nuggets showing off a little champion's blood against the Warriors here in Ball Arena tonight to win by 4. All right, let's get to our Sounds of Dubs OT segment here, and a lot of good stuff from Steve Kerr to react to. So we'll just go in order here on this one, and the first clip is from Steve Kerr, and this was a question. This was a question that people were asking about as far as the officials not seeing Christian Braun attempting to call timeout at the end of the game.
Brown called a timeout. He dove on the floor. He rolled over. Everybody saw it except for the 3 guys we hire to do the games, and that makes me angry. You know, this is that's a technical foul. They don't have a timeout left. It's a technical foul. We shoot a free throw. We get the ball. We got a chance to win the game. They all told me they didn't see it. He dives on the floor and rolls over, and he goes timeout. It's up to the referees to see. That's why we have 3 of them. Somebody's got to see it. So that made me mad.
Yeah, and that is Steve Kerr with some pointed and just on spot on comments in that situation where Brown pretty clearly had looked to call a timeout there when the Nuggets did not have a timeout, and it ended up being a jump ball there in the closing seconds. And again, the Warriors are in a spot where they would have had a chance. And for everything that happened, I mean, we saw Steph Curry, if you remember, in the playoffs against the Kings, Game 4 at Chase Center, in that 2023 epic series on the Sunday afternoon. The Warriors were leading, and Steph Curry called a timeout that the Warriors didn't have, which allowed the Kings from, I believe, down 4 at that point. I think they hit the free throw, got another bucket. It was a 1-point game, and they got a stop and ended up having the ball with a 1-point deficit, and De'Aaron Fox is bringing the ball up the court. That ended up with Harrison Barnes shooting a 3 that missed, but it happens, and it happens to it happens to the best in some of those tight moments. And you pretty well could clearly see it, and so that's unfortunate. Again, is that why the Warriors don't win the game tonight? No. But I wanted to wait for Steve Kerr to address that before we addressed it. We did have a couple of people on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. 707 chiming in here. Was Braun trying to call timeout before it was ruled a jump ball? He was and did. And again, I didn't, from my vantage point, see it as clearly as Steve and those on the Warriors bench did, or that it had appeared on television on TNT. But that's what happened, and it should have been at that point a technical foul for the Warriors, and it would have been the Warriors getting a chance to make the free throw and have the ball. So you make, Curry goes to the line, hits the free throw, 119-116, and then the Warriors get a chance with 1.9 seconds or to be able to throw it in and try to hit a three and tie the game. So it was still going to be a long shot, but it was still a missed call. Nevertheless, and one that I would imagine tomorrow on the 2-minute report will be addressed. The NBA Final 2-minute report, where they admit and sometimes don't admit their mistakes. All right, continuing on here on Dubs OT, our sounds of Dubs OT. Another one from the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr. He had some thoughts on. This is an interesting one. Players may be trying to do a little too much. Here's what he had to say.
So I think we're trying too hard. I think, guys are closing out and they're closing out without any discernment about what's about to happen. You got to close out and challenge, close out to the side. If a guy makes a shot, he makes a shot. But we can't send a team to the line 35 times and expect to win a game against a great team. So we got a lot to work on. Proud of the guys for their effort. We had a lot of guys who really, came up big, played well. But if we're going to be a good team, and I think we can be, we've got to learn to execute and close games.
Yeah, and that's something that it looked like the Warriors maybe weren't going to have to do as regularly, but you knew it was going to come into play at some point as they started to play better teams. And the Warriors have been playing better teams of late. You throw the Brooklyn game out, I mean, that's when you just have to win. But whether it's been San Antonio once the game gets close, Brooklyn, OKC without Steph, I think you could maybe throw that one out as well. But you look at a game like tonight where you've played well enough to be in the lead, you have to be able to finish it. And, that is going to be part of the learning curve for this team. Now, how long do you give them, I think, is the other question. How long are you going to give this current group to try to figure it out? Because unfortunately, it is now, in terms of the record, starting to get a little bit too much like last year or the last couple of years, where you're just kind of lingering around 500 and you're middle of the pack and you're a couple of games outside the play-in and you're a couple of games, you're a couple of games from being outside of the play-in, and you're fighting for the sixth spot, and teams start to get on a roll, and all of a sudden it gets a lot more difficult. And if you have one big injury, then you really find yourself behind the 8 ball in a bad way. Let's hear a third one from Steve Kerr. Let's see. Let's hear the third one for Steve Kerr. Kyle, help me out here as far as the setup on this one.
Oh yeah. So this one is actually a quote. And he says, if you think you're going to get on a highlight reel and show everybody what a special play you can make, it's going to be a turnover.
Okay. So he's talking about the turnover. So let's go ahead and roll that one.
4 minutes left in the second quarter. We had 18 assists and 1 turnover. We might have had one more for a shot clock violation, but only 1 miscue because we were hitting singles. And then we turned it over 3 or 4 times in the last few minutes of the first half and gave up a 12-point lead because we tried to hit home runs. And this league is unforgiving. If you think you're going to, get on a highlight reel, show everybody, what a special play you can make, it's going to be a turnover.
Yeah, and again, I think that's where the Warriors have found themselves, that they have always been at their best when they're trying not to make the spectacular play, and often the spectacular play comes by just continuing to make the simple plays, and at times that bit the Warriors a little bit here in this one tonight. All right, let's hear a couple of more here. I want to let's play the Draymond Green. I'm going to hold off on the Charles Barkley because the Charles Barkley one was more funny, but I think we'll pause and we'll come back and we'll play Barkley, but we'll take one more quick timeout before we play the Charles Barkley clip. But yeah, Draymond Green on his podcast addressed the injury, this calf injury that's popped up. Steve Kerr pregame addressed the fact that this calf injury is something he's going to get an MRI tomorrow and be evaluated. It's still kind of a day-to-day thing at this point, but it popped up in a point where the Warriors weren't expecting it and had started to make plans to maybe shorten their rotation based on, Draymond being healthy. And Draymond had played and started every game for the Warriors in the first 19, where they go 12-7. So the first game without Draymond this season. And so you look at it and it pops up. You want to be careful with it. And nobody really knew exactly what it was. And then it pops up as a calf. And so Draymond on the Draymond Green show with Baron Davis, he addressed the injury and just where everything is with the injury and why he's being careful.
My thing coming into this season, like if I'm healthy, I'm on the court. Yeah. Over the last few games, I've been a bit beat up, but still feeling healthy enough to get out there on the floor and try to help my team. I started to get this calf tightening in my left calf. In 2022, leading up to me missing those 3 months, there was games of like, my left glute's really tight, it'll loosen up a little bit and then come right back. I'm just like, oh, that's a symptom because I've been playing games and I didn't know what I was up against. So this time, some of the symptoms that I felt, I'm able to better navigate and knowing like, all right, you felt this, you may need to slow down.
Yes, it's okay.
I'll be 100% honest. I'm a little afraid. But in saying that, I have confidence in our staff. I have confidence that I'm getting ahead of it right now because the smart thing to do is to catch it right now while I'm already getting these symptoms. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and you don't want a calf injury to turn into an Achilles injury is the untold portion of that, because that is what has a tendency to happen. And so I think Draymond is trying to make sure that he takes care of it and is careful with it and doesn't have it become something that can be, problematic in a different way. So some interesting thoughts from Draymond on just where he's at as far as all of this goes. And it's something worth monitoring because, the Warriors are going to need Draymond. And I know a big part of the discussion the last couple of days has been about the Warriors' depth and Steve Kerr's belief that they can withstand time where Draymond and Steph are not going to be playing. He's also been pretty clear-cut blunt in saying that they're going to have to give those guys more rest, whether it's night to night or just giving them games off here and there when little things pop up. It won't be just officially PTO, but it's going to be, Steph's got this little knee thing. He's going to need a game off. Draymond's got this calf thing. He's going to need a game or maybe a couple of games off to make sure he's healthy. It's just as they're older players now, and so that's going to be a part of the deal. Again, you'd rather have that be part of a deal if you're playing it closer to a 12-3 level than a 12-8 level. Because if you're playing at a 12-8 level and you have to deal with the constant ins and outs and changes in rotation and searching for lineups, then it is all far too much like the last 2 years have been. And we've seen if it gets too far like what the last 2 years have been, then this team hasn't got it. And again, we don't know that yet. I still think this is a better team than they've had the last couple of years, but a lot of the signs, unfortunately, are there in the wrong direction. And the inability to win a couple of these close games. You win 2 of these games, you're 14-6, and you feel great. You're right there among the top. Like it's a fine line, but when you start to skid here, you start to wonder, all right, when are you going to be able to get a win? The Warriors are going to have to try to hope that they can do it on Thursday against Houston. And look, Houston's a team the Warriors have played well against. They haven't lost to them since before COVID. Again, this is a very good Rockets team that I think figured out a way to play maybe against the Warriors in getting down 30 the night that they didn't have Steph Curry in early November, and then rallied and were able to win that one. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. We'll hear one more clip. This one kind of a funny one from Charles Barkley on TNT. We'll do that coming up next. More from the YouTube chat as well. And also we will have some fun with numbers as the Warriors lose 119-115. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
This is KNBR, and this is Dubs OT with John Dickinson, streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Yeah, they're a fun little team to watch. When they're making threes, they're tough to beat. But I told you, I don't believe in the Warriors, but they're cute. They're fun to watch. I mean, Steph is obviously on the...
What makes you not believe in them?
I just don't think they have enough talent. They got a bunch of Jags. They got Steph and a bunch of Jags, just guys, just a guy. And they don't have enough star power.
Well, that's certainly a fair criticism, even if you consider the source, which is Charles Barkley of TNT, final year of TNT, by the way. In case you didn't know, obviously, I think everybody that watches that knows that, but they're going to be headed to ESPN, which is a good thing. Interesting comments from Charles. I mean, they've got a lot of talented guys that are just a guy. I don't know. I think but that is, I think, Charles is not alone in that view. And I think it begs the question, as the Warriors continue to lose here, what big picture do they look to do? How do you get better? Because the reality is, if you look to make a move and you have a bunch of guys that the rest of the league thinks are just a bunch of guys, then it's really hard to get that high-end talent for those players that are just a guy in terms of trades. So I think the Warriors are better than that. How much better than that, though, I think remains to be seen. But, yeah, not surprised, one. That's a little bonus sounds of Dubs OT for you here on this Tuesday night, as the Warriors do lose to the Nuggets 119-115. They blow another lead, up 11 with 6 minutes to go. In the fourth quarter, they get outscored 21-6 over the final 6 minutes. The Nuggets score the final 10 of the game, and the Warriors are suddenly 12-8 after the 12-3 start. And it is a lot, if not everything, that the Warriors struggled with last season that is starting to come to fruition again. But the balance, the ball movement, the depth, the ability to shoot the three ball, it was all clicking there up until a week and a half ago, and now it's not. And now it's on the Warriors to figure out a way to try and get it back and get it back on track, or make a move. But again, I'm not sure that there is necessarily a move to be made at this particular point in time, because you got to give up talent to get talent. And if the rest of the league views the rest of the Warriors players as what Charles Barkley called Jags, just a guy, then it's going to be a lot harder for that deal to be consummated. And I think that's something that you have to focus on. You don't want to make deals out of desperation. And right now, with the 5-game losing streak and the 12-8, I think there are teams that would be looking to take advantage of the Warriors to a certain extent. But that being said, it's all about evaluating who truly fits as a member of this year's team. What level can the player you get from the outside raise your game? And does it become a scenario where you think you can actually get somebody by giving up a couple of the players that you've got, packaging them together, and then you're changing the chemistry mix completely? Because there's no guarantee when you do that you're going to have a similar level of chemistry. Although I do think, everybody's chemistry starts to smell a little bit different when you start to lose. And so I'm really going to be interested to see how the Warriors hold it together here. With some legitimate adversity for the first time this season. So, all right, let's continue here before we get to fun with numbers. As you listen to KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM San Francisco, the sports leader, a Cumulus media station. It's John Dickinson here on Dubs OT with JD here on the sports leader. Final couple of minutes of the show here. as the Warriors lose this one to the Nuggets. But let's see. Andis Brown have to go to Houston for the Cup. That's right. Have to go to Houston for the Cup. Warriors have played well at Houston. Kerr was upset about the missed timeout call by Braun for sure. And, we'll see. Yeah, the Cup now runs through Houston and OKC and Vegas at this point. But yeah, CB, spot on, JD. Moody should have been in with 3 minutes left. That GP three-pointer, the wide open three-pointer. I think that was the move. You had to get Moody out briefly to rest him, but then you put him back in there. Uncle Looney, you can always second-guess after a loss. It's on the players. Estimated eyes, I don't know how it's on Kerr. A lot of people frustrated with Kerr. San Jose Jazz fan 4. Yeah, when we played the clip, Kerr blasted players for looking to make highlight reels instead of committing committing unforced turnovers. Rockin' New Era 84, appreciate you as always, one of our regulars. Warriors just have no room for errors. Yeah, the margin for error is tough. The margin for error is so slim, and it feels a lot more slim than it was earlier in the season when the depth was clicking, and it just seemed like, I don't want to make too much of Melton being out, but again, tonight Melton, look, they're not going to have Melton. It's going to be a point where it's almost going to be like they never had Melton potentially, because he may end up signing elsewhere. But not having Melton has upset the balance in terms of guys who could play some defense and are capable offensive players. And so now I feel like Steve is much more having to pick and choose. Do I want to go with an offensive player or a defensive player at certain positions, where Melton was somebody that just could do both and did both. And so, I think that's something to have to figure it out. San Jose Jazz fan 4, Buddy Hield is replacing Clay, but not in a good way. Yeah, Hield has not been good. Really, you could make a case he's only had a couple of really good games in the last 2 or 3 weeks. There've been a lot of rough shooting nights. Teams, I think, have put him much more up on the scouting report and are trying to really not give him room to shoot from 3. They're defending him better, flat out. And they're making him try to put the ball on the floor, which can always be an adventure. And as I've often said, when Buddy Hield's not making shots, it's difficult for him to contribute in other positive ways to winning. And he even did that in the first couple of weeks of the season. Rockin' New Era, everyone gets the blame. Miles G, Pods is a crybaby. The one thing I'll say about Pods, he definitely is in the I've never committed a foul in my life club. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Estimated eyes, JK should not be whining about fouls either. He definitely thinks he should be getting a better whistle, which is kind of funny. Uncle Looney, I think, says it best. Kuminga can be frustrating. He is tantalizing because you see flashes. And often now you see the flashes in the same game. I thought Kuminga overall was good tonight. We spent a decent chunk of the early part of the show talking about him. The couple of the plays there where he got stopped at the rim late. And, he's had a rough go in a couple of these games down the stretch lately. But he's somebody that I thought played pretty well the first 2.5, 3 quarters, really up until that final stint when he was out there. But he is frustrating, I think, because you do see the flashes. But I think this is Kuminga. Like, this is Kuminga. Even on a night where it was like, wow, he looks as comfortable and as patient and as locked in and understanding of what's in front of him offensively as he has maybe at any point in his career, which I thought he did in the first half. He still has incredible difficulty finishing and closing the game. So that is something that tantalizes and frustrates. But again, I just think the Warriors are also coming up on a point where they're going to have to pay the guy. And so, like, given what you've seen from Kuminga this year, do you want to pay him a $130 million contract? I mean, I think that's well within the range. Would you want to do that right now? And again, you don't have to do it now. You'd have to do it restricted free agency in the offseason. But would you want to pay him that knowing that he's not truly a number two? I don't think you would be comfortable with that at this point. So, I did hear what Barkley said, and we played it for you. So, yeah, we addressed that. All in all, and how about this one? One final one. Who gets the blame? 3rd and goal. Who gets the blame? Wardell Curry, 8 for 24, 4 15 from 3. It's a no-brainer who lost this game for them tonight. LOL. It's hard to put it on Steph Curry when Steph Curry's the only one. But, yeah, you look up at the end of the night, and if he makes a couple more shots, the Nuggets are obviously trying to make anybody else beat him. They're able to they're able to close this thing out and earn themselves a win. All right, final couple of minutes. Let's get to Fun with Numbers.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, some fun with numbers here. The Warriors losing their 5th consecutive game, their 3rd straight on the road, as the Warriors lose this one 119-115. As I bring up our fun with numbers, some of the notes here from this one. Yeah, the Warriors lose that 5th straight, 3rd straight on the road. Last time the Warriors lost 5 consecutive games. You got to go back to the early part of last year after they got off to that good start. Greg Silver mentioned it, is 6-2 going to be is 12-3 going to be the new 6-2. Warriors did win Group C in the Emirates NBA Cup, 3-1 record. They tied Dallas for the win in that respect, which is 3-1, but they had the head-to-head win, so they move on. They are the 3rd seed, so everybody gets seeded, as I mentioned earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4, your 3 group winners plus your wild card. And so OKC ended up 1, Houston ended up 2, the Warriors ended up 3 plays at 2, Warriors at Rockets Wednesday. OKC hosts the wild card team, which was out of the Warriors group, the Dallas Mavericks, who won tonight to earn that spot. So they will play on December 11th, Wednesday. The Warriors will at Houston, 6:30 Pacific time, 8:30 Central on TNT. And the winner of that game will go to Vegas. So the Warriors a game away from playing in Vegas on the weekend of the 14th. Nuggets have won 11 of 12 against the Warriors, and 8 straight for the Nuggets over the Warriors. The Warriors have not beaten Denver since they knocked them out of the playoffs in 2022 in the first round. The Nuggets with the sweep 2 years ago, the sweep last year, and the first game. And a few of these have been games that the Warriors have felt that they've had on lock, and the Nuggets have been able to pull them out at the end of the game. So the Warriors have lost 5 straight at Ball Arena in Denver. And again, the last time the Warriors defeated the Nuggets in the regular season, you got to go back to March 10th of 2022. They, of course, did win that playoff series. And 8 of the last 10 between these two teams have been decided by 6 points or less, including 5 of the last 6. So a bunch of close games, and the Nuggets out executing the Warriors in those close games over and over and over and over again. And the Warriors now 12th clutch game of the season. Clutch games within 5 points in the last 5 minutes. Warriors are 5-7 in those. It was their 6th consecutive clutch game and 9 in the last 10. So they've lost 5 straight clutch games overall. All of these games that they've dropped after a 5-2 start to the season have been clutch games. Warriors had 36 assists. Man, the ball was moving early in this one. 7-3 when they have at least 30 assists. and they used their 11th different starting lineup of the season, and for the fourth straight time, they've had a different starting lineup that they hadn't used before. And we'll see what the Warriors do against the Rockets on Thursday at Chase Center, but it could very well be another different lineup. Kevon Looney got the nod tonight. Jonathan Kuminga was out there at the 4 with Wiggins, Podziemski, and Stephen Curry. Curry, second double-double of the season, as he had 24 points and 11 assists. Last time he did that, and the only other time he has done that this season was opening night in Portland. Kevon Looney, we talked about his first start of the season high 11 boards, and had 5 assists. So Kevon Looney played well in this one tonight. Draymond Green missed his first game of the year, and he was the only Warrior to play and start every single game of the first 19. GP2, season high in points scored, 11 points. His defense is always welcome, and GP was playing really good basketball in this one early on. He ended up being, you look at plus 18, a game best plus 18, but the Warriors not good enough in this one down the stretch. Kuminga finishes with 19, 5 boards, 2 assists, and a block. He's averaging 16.7 points per game in the last 3 after missing a couple of games due to illness. All right, before we call it a night, I want to get our final tally on the Dubs OT question of the night. And it was, who gets the blame for the Warriors' fourth quarter collapse against the Nuggets? Podziemski is getting dragged, as I mentioned earlier, too much in my mind, but 45.1% of the vote going to too much Pods. Not enough Moody was another option. Looney fouling out and Kuminga down the stretch. Kuminga down the stretch, 23.5% of the vote. That's number 2. And then not enough Moody, number 3, 19.6% of the vote. Looney fouling out, just under 12% of the vote. That'll be up still on our KNBR socials for the next day or so. So there's still time to vote in that. But those are the final results as far as I'm concerned, as far as this show is concerned. Great job tonight by everyone in our San Francisco studios. Kyle, who was helping you out tonight, my man?
We had Jacob Violante and Jordan Patari, and we got a little overnight Dave too.
Yeah, overnight Dave's always just kind of lurking. What's going on, Dave? Good to talk to you, man. Good to see you. So yeah, for Kyle Haar and for Jacob Violante and Jordan Patari and overnight Dave and Greg Silver, who joined us in the opening segment, as Greg's going to join the show from time to time, as we as I have mentioned. So we look forward to having Greg be a part of things here. Maybe not every night, but a lot of nights we like to have Greg able to pop in and have a discussion about the game at hand. So we'll talk to you on Thursday from Harmonic in Thrive City, Warriors and the Rockets. And it's Thursday, Friday for Dubs OT at Harmonic, the back-to-back. We'll talk to you right around 9:30. If you're coming to the game, stop by and say hi. And we'll talk to you then right here. Warriors lose 119-115. It's Dubs OT with JD on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Curry on Murray. Shot clock at 10. Steph with a quick speed. Drop it to Kuminga and have it knocked away. Murray saved a dunk. Jamal Murray, 100 miles an hour into the lane. And a foul.
John Dickinson.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Big audio quality show.
You are a sicko, and I appreciate you for it because I'm a sicko.
I just know they kicked our ass tonight.